Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. Today I've got a ton of stories to go over, so I figured this would be the best format to go about doing it. With that said, I do have some really good stuff. Starting with Alienware removing GPU cores from their laptop, Windows 11, Nvidia is losing more ground, AMD teases something big, and Nvidia is in massive trouble with this. But first, if you aren't currently subscribed and you like gaming PC hardware, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell icon. Currently, it looks like 67% of you who watch my videos are not subscribed. So please, once again, go ahead and do that. It does help the channel out and it ensures you stay caught up with PC hardware news. Now, with that said, let's get right to our first story. As you can see right here, Alienware was recently caught selling notebooks with the 3070, yet some of the cores have been disabled. You can see right here that it comes with 4,608 cores, yet it's supposed to come with 5,120. Now, with that said, I do want to point out that it at least looks like some kind of strange oversight or some kind of issue with Dell, because they actually released a new BIOS that unlocks all of those cores. With that said, this is a good reminder to verify everything that you're getting if you can before you purchase it, or at least afterwards. I have no idea why the cores would have been disabled to begin with. I'm hoping it was just some mistake in the code, but at the same time, it seems really weird that this would happen. So if you currently do have at least a newer RTX 3000 GPU laptop, I would definitely make sure you have the amount of cores enabled that you're supposed to. And of course, if you own this notebook in particular, make sure you install that new VBIOS. And next up for today, Microsoft looks to be launching Windows 11. Now, if you've been following Microsoft for a good while now, you know that they somewhat build Windows 10 as kind of like the final Windows. They were effectively going to be making Windows 10 more of like a service where maybe you paid monthly or something like that. At least that's what most people were saying. Well, there's a few reasons to think that this actually could be Windows 11. First, when we look at the little teaser that Microsoft sent, you can see that they have a window here with the new Windows logo with light coming through. But there's one thing to notice. It completely ignores the horizontal bar right here. Instead, it only uses this one when the light's coming through. You can see right here, it makes it more or less look like 11. And if that isn't enough to convince you that this is at least a really important release for Microsoft, there's a few other things that I can go over, and it all started right here, when Windows 10X was effectively canceled. And the reason they canceled it was specifically so they can focus on single screen laptops. See, Windows 10X was supposed to be kind of an updated, streamlined Windows operating system that was going to go on their dual screen devices like Surface Neo and a few others. But last month, they canceled it, saying that they're moving their team that was working on it over to the main Windows team. Not only that, but during Microsoft's recent build conference, the CEO stated this. He said that he's incredibly excited about the next generation of Windows, and that it's going to be the most significant update to Windows of the past decade. So this is a really big deal. And if you're curious about what they're going to be changing, we do have a hint from not too long ago where Microsoft actually had a job where they were looking at making sweeping visual rejuvenation of the Windows experience. Now, I will say that that job listing has been updated to kind of take out a little bit of that part. So that's obviously something they're just not willing to share just yet, but it's obviously a key thing that they're working on. Now, next up, we have a really interesting story that comes from Steam's newest hardware survey. You can see right here that AMD, for the first time in a long time, actually has 30% CPU market share. Of course, keep in mind that this doesn't represent all gamers. It technically only represents gamers who are willing to fill out the survey and everything like that, but it typically does give us a decent idea, at least of trends in the market. And next up for today, AMD apparently sent out this email stating that something big is coming. Now, I will say that I don't even think I received this, but who knows who they're sending it to. Either way, it is definitely out there now. And whenever you click on this link to a video, it goes to an unlisted video from AMD that kind of teases a new GPU. And of course, when we move back here, we can pretty quickly see that this is clearly, or at least more likely, a Radeon Pro GPU. Anyway, it doesn't give us too much, but well, also you have the mini display port, which is typically for Radeon Pro GPUs. And we actually have the first benchmark of it. You can see that WCCF Tech shared this, and it is a Geekbench benchmark that has apparently been taken down. Either way, you can see that they scored 137,230, which this is for the Radeon Pro W6800. And like I said, it scored 137,230, which is around or just above the RX 6800. So it's clearly going to be performance similar to that, except there's one thing. It actually comes with a whopping 32 gigabytes of VRAM. So really massive GPU. It is going to be pretty interesting to see what kind of results you can get from this, but of course it isn't made for gaming, so definitely keep that in mind. It's probably going to be pretty expensive. Either way, let's get to the final story. For those who've been following the channel, you know that AMD recently announced their Fidelity FX Super Resolution. Don't forget, this is effectively AMD's solution to Nvidia's DLSS, except, like I've said a couple times now, a really big factor is the fact that AMD is making this available to both Nvidia and AMD GPUs, and not just their newest RX 6000 or Nvidia's newest RTX 3000 GPUs. They're actually making it available for much of their older ones. We're talking RX 500 series, Vega, RX 5000, tons of GPUs, and I will say it actually goes back a little bit further than we originally thought, but I'll get to that in just a second. The really big news here is that you can see right here, Kyle Bennett actually asked Raja Kaduri if Intel is kind of interested to see how their GPUs work with AMD FSR. And to my surprise, Raja Kaduri actually responded and said that they're definitely looking at it. Not only that, but they will, quote, try to align with open approaches to make ISV's jobs easier. And this is referencing to their upcoming XE HPG. So this is their DG2, their monster GPU 512 EUs. They are actually looking at making this work with AMD's new FSR. Now, the reason that's such a big deal is that, for one, AMD already effectively has a monopoly with the fact that their GPUs are in all of the consoles as well as CPUs. So you already know the consoles are almost certainly going to be supporting FSR. And then the fact that it not only works on older GPUs and Nvidia's older GPUs, it's effectively going to force Nvidia to support it. And not only that, but if Intel also supports it, basically this would almost force all developers, just about, at least who have ray tracing and things like that, to support this tech, especially when we're talking console ports and all of that. And because of that, yes, from what we're hearing, AMD's FSR is a little bit worse than Nvidia's, although they are still talking upwards of 2 times on average. They said on average versus native 4K. Even if Nvidia's is a little bit better, I don't really see developers finding the need to develop for DLSS. Basically, the only developers that would really have an incentive are those who Nvidia effectively pays. And now that Intel themselves are even looking into this, it may become the new standard, which almost certainly would really hurt Nvidia's effective monopoly on DLSS. So everything that they're kind of trying to push forward and doing it not open source, trying to kind of lock everything into them so you have an incentive to get their GPUs over AMD's. So Nvidia is almost certainly not happy, and it gets even better as AMD has confirmed that the Radeon RX 470 and 480 do support FX Super Resolution, or at least FX Super Resolution includes support for the 470 and 480. And that's something that I definitely think was a really good question that a lot of gamers were asking when AMD initially announced that they were going to be supporting the RX 500 series, just because the 400 series is still Polaris. There should be no reason that it wouldn't support it or that it required anything except for maybe some very minor tweaks. Either way, AMD has confirmed that they are going to include support at least for the RX 470 and 480. Whether support for some other models like the 560, 550 are going to be coming out, I'm not 100% sure. You can see right here that Video Cards wasn't even able to confirm if it supports those GPUs. Still, I would ultimately argue that this is really good news if you ask me. Of course, the question is, what do you think? Are you really excited for AMD's FSR? Do you think it's really going to hurt Nvidia like it really might? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please subscribe, and as always, have a great day.